There's like a really important thing about proportional representation methods that I want to highlight that people don't talk about, I don't think, nearly often enough in voting methods in general, which is precinct summability. This is really, really vital. So the concept of precinct summability is that each individual precinct can, and this is just based on what method you're using, is able to add up and sum the results just within that precinct and then report those totals publicly to the media, to the public, whatever. And then anybody anywhere at all can take these results from each precinct and then further add them up and find a winner. And this is really, really valuable because some methods, whether you're talking about ranked choice instant runoff voting in the single winner space, or many proportional representation methods, at least the expressive ones, are not precinct summable. What that requires is that the counting, the tabulation is centralized to a single point of failure.
Yeah.
And this is relevant to the country that you live in. The United States is a long-standing military and economic superpower. The world has a lot of interest in our elections. There are a lot of people all over the world who care more about our elections than they do about their own. When we start talking about voting methods that require this, the decentralization of counting is the most important factor in election security in the United States that provides a robustness against scaled election attacks.
Yes. And this is another point that the people that are in favor of a single winner system often make. So if you wanted to do approval, you can do that in a precinct summable way. So that's another kind of feather in the cap for approval or score or star or whatever, because of the precinct summability that matters in the end, especially in Canada, because we don't do voting machines here. Everything's hand counted. It's a bit of a point of pride. Changing that is another one of the sticking points to moving to PR. You can hand count STV. I believe Ireland hand counts, unless I'm mistaken. And
it takes forever, but
yeah, right. And that's actually probably the best argument for STV.
They do two-way communication though. And so again, like this is the thing that like they are much better coordinated there than we are here.
Sure.
In the US at least. I don't know, I can't speak on Canada.
I've never been involved in counting in Canada, so I can't comment. But the point is that when you compare STV to literally any of the good cardinal systems, it's terrible, except it's probably a little bit better for hand counting because you're passing around whole ballots. Everything else requires you to keep track of fractions. Mm-hmm. That said, though, a lot of the surplus handling mechanisms in STV. So I'd have to also read up on exactly how they handle surpluses in Ireland.
It depends. Yeah, it depends what version of STV you're using. There are a lot of different ways to implement it.
They probably do a random sample, which can bring an element of ease of manipulation, let's say.
MMP is precinct summable, yes. Yeah, it should be.
Yes, really you have to talk with it. You have to go back and forth to the central authority to get a.
Well, ultimately, so long as you
know the PR calculation, somebody has to do that central. You can
the PR calculation can be done centrally, but in terms of but anybody can do it. Is my point. Like precincts can able. That's the thing that matters, is that you don't have to physically truck ballots to a central location. Like that is the issue.
Sure. You can pass on the information. But I mean, in this digital age, is that really the hard line you're going to put? Like, we could just send all of the information on all of the ballots.
In the U.S., it is. I mean, again, the state of Maine trucks their ranked choice voting ballots to a central location to be tabulated, right? And then in New York City, we just had this with the Democratic mayoral primary where they brought it all to a central location, and then there was no way to audit it. And then the New York City Board of Elections added in a bunch of test ballots in with the actual bunch of real ballots, and it was like this whole mess. And it was like, man, what a great way to screw things up is by putting it at one. But if each precinct is able to like individually report results in like a reasonable way, like to the media, and then anybody can take that and then tabulate, it's like you still retain that like local level auditability.
But if your issue is auditability, there's better ways to solve that.
Well, I mean, auditability is part of it. It's more about preventing scaled attacks on elections. That is, I think, really the end of the day what it comes down to.